back with another one. Honestly, today with one of the most polarizing, opinionated individuals I think I know. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Great to see you, man.
Hey man, I'm nice. Let's start from here. What happened to the Hip Hop Summit? It happened 2 years, yeah?
It happened 2 years.
Yeah. What happened?
You know, it's not easy to micromanage things from afar. So the Hip Hop Summit, we did it for 2 years in partnership with Shoko Festival.
Yeah.
And the partnership was not really sustainable because it was not financially, there was no money to even run it.
Okay.
So it may be back, but on a bigger level.
Maybe back. What was the point of the Hip Hop Summit?
Well,
What were you trying to achieve with the summit?
So you remember we did not just the Hip Hop Summit, but also the Zim Dancer Summit.
The Zim Dancer one?
Yeah, we did it for 2 years as well. The idea was to create a platform for conversation for different players in the industry to say, look, how do we move forward? What are the things that we need to discuss and need to work on to improve? How do we tap into different creative minds and resources for us to actually develop the hip hop, industry in Zimbabwe, because it has so much potential. And I think we did well for the 2 years that we did, and it didn't stop there because the conversations have been online. Hip Hop Summit, earGROUND, still conversations that happen around the hip hop scene and music in Zimbabwe.
With that in mind, what shall we do to grow this thing? What needs to be done?
Well, a lot needs to be done.
Let's go through
One of the first things that we need to work on is curation. We need better curators in the industry, people that are passionate, that are driven, that are looking at, the global scene, but also with the mind and the scope of the global scene. How do we develop, how do we navigate, how do we create systems for artists to be able to create quality content? How do we also have A&R mechanism so that the quality of the content that we're putting out matches up to a certain level? And how do we develop a lifestyle? Because hip hop is a lifestyle, and a lifestyle that is driven by what young people imagine and desire and thrive to become and be. And right now, largely, I would say it's very unfortunate because we have few programs on the mainstream media that are dedicated to hip hop. And even in the mainstream, like music that plays, you find hip hop still occupies a very small percentage. Yet last year, the genre dominated. That should have been an indicator for example, radio stations. When Zim Dancer blew up, what happened? We had each radio station, the main ones, having up to 12 hours dedicated a week to Zim Dancer, which they've maintained even long past, Zim Dancer's hype and vibe, right? So right across the radio stations, if I pick 3 top radio stations, they've got a total of, maybe 36 hours, a week that is dedicated to Zim Dancer. Imagine if the same would happen, say, for hip hop. What would actually happen in terms of the new talent that is out there? The biggest hit from last year was Fire Emoji coming from Chegotu. This speaks of the possibility that we have in terms of developing the genre. So I think we're not too far, but we may be far in terms of just what are sort of the conversations that we're having. Do we have money coming through into the genre? Do we have credible awards? Do we have record labels? Do we have video directors that are producing quality, top-notch, hip-hop music? And those that have gone ahead of the industry, are they also opening up space for the next crop of artists to find themselves also into the same space they are? Do we have money circulating? Is it a hobby? Is it possibly still the biggest? I mean, it's one of the biggest genres in the country right now, but how much money flows through hip-hop? You may find it's a very small fraction when you compare it to even a long genre that has been there for the longest time, 10 years, a decade, Zim Dancer. So if there's no money flowing, if we don't work to actually create these systems and to tell each other the truth and just say, Chingoma Chaka Ipa, this is dope, everything, we hype everything, we don't put systems that ensure that we have the quality. If people are not comfortable in hearing the truth and having certain conversations, then we may be somewhere. Because right now, if you look at South Africa, Amapiano is big, but it's still, Casper Nyovest still gets shows. It's still big, it's still doing amazing things. Nasty Steve is still doing things. And KO, you still find there's a crop of hip-hop artists, Black Sea, young people coming into the same space, but still, the ones that were there ahead, they will not get kept, they will not block the next crop of artists. So in Zimbabwe, you still find those that have possibly made it, they think they own the space. They have to control the narrative, they have to control the space and determine who gets in, who doesn't get in. But look at Casper Nyovest, you find a crop of young artists that came through his path. He raised others because he believed in an industry that would actually thrive more when there are more players making it.
Is it, you're talking about not having a limited time on air in terms of when it comes to hip hop. But do we have the songs? Do we have the hits? Do we have the material that can run, that can allow someone to have the 36 hours that Zim Dancer is enjoying? Because fact, Zim Dancer's got hits back to back to back. Last year's biggest hit was Fire Emoji. From the top of your head, give me 10.
Well,
Zim Hip Hop one. Because the thing is, it's one thing getting ample airtime, but do we have the music that will cause someone who's not a hip hop fan to listen? Because it's one, if you listen to Sean Paul, when he was at his height during that 2002-2008 line,
yes,
he had music that even a Zim dancehall person, a dancehall person who doesn't listen to Zim to dancehall, will still enjoy a Sean Paul record. Do we have that type of music, or are the artists making that type of music that will prompt someone who's not even interested in hip hop music to be like, this Fire Emoji is a dope track, I can listen to that?
I can safely say that we have it in abundance. And then the problem is not us saying we don't have the hits. Some hits are made, hits blow up on their own. Some hits are made through frequent rotation. People grow to love and appreciate the music. So if radio and the mainstream media is waiting for songs to blow up for them to ride on them, then we have a disconnect there. There's a young person who's there in Kezi, in Dotito, in Marondera, who's making some super dope music. The music is there, but...
Because sorry to cut you, but what I'm trying to say is, okay, yes, there's that boy in Dotito.
Yes.
His music has to go through the channel to get to where it's supposed to get, where it's going to be presented to people.
This is where the challenge is. We have so much red tape.
Okay.
And this red tape, we may need to cut it because now with technology, TikTok is now creating hits. There are many alternative platforms. This is why you may find that a Fire Emoji blew up on the streets before it, and online, before it hit radio, right? Yeah, the music, the artists are there. So I think it's actually upon the curators to actually say, how do we keep our ear on the ground and be able to tap into the new stuff that the young people are putting up. I'll tell you one of the things that I observe, right? If the average presenter on radio, possibly who's pushing a youth culture like hip hop, is past 30 or around your 40s, right? That becomes also a problem, because you'd find this culture easily outgrows us. We can be stuck to old school. I can listen to Tupac, to whoever, right? I can be stuck in traditional to them. But the young people that are there today, they are moving fast like Wi-Fi. And for somebody to actually be in touch, they have to be on their toes and they have to be young, they have to be very youthful. Or a producer, there has to be somebody within systems that allows us to be able to tap to the next artist. And these young people are not as conventional as we are. They don't follow channels. This is how they are. We can't police them. You'd find they will drop a song. They may not care about radio. But if radio, they don't. But if radio wants to be a curator and an industry leader in terms of opinion, in terms of sound, in terms of music, and say, this is how we are sounding, we're sounding fresh, we're sounding cool, it means there has to be a bit of an extra effort and to build linkages and make it in a way that the artists, the 10, 15, 20, 30 artists that the young people are vibing to, there are small parties that are happening, there are small events that are happening. It's a culture that has so much potential. Potential that if we put a bit of effort towards it and help these youngsters, because most of them self-taught producers, self-taught artists, they have no training, they have no experience whatsoever in terms of marketing, in terms of distribution and so forth. And they may not even know how to submit music. I was talking to one with a hit song the other year. I registered with Zemora. No, how do I do that? They don't know this information. And we may assume that they are ignorant, but nobody taught them. Nobody took them to school to say, you have to do things. Information is available online, but possibly they are not getting into a space where this information is. There are workshops, there are platforms that have been done, but possibly they are missing out the most important information. But if those that manage to get this information do things so well, it will create a template for the next person to say, I want to do things in this way, in that way, in that way. And ultimately, we have an industry. We have the potential. We cannot continue to blame each other and say, you're not doing this part, you're not doing that. If we do our part and say, in my own space, what is it that I've contributed or I'm contributing, ultimately the next person will do the same, PDtheGhost will do the same, Lady K will do the same. And what we have is small candles that will create a big light for the whole country, and ultimately we have hip-hop rising to the top.
My thing is, these kids are internet-based. Their lives are revolve around the internet. And there's so much information that's on the internet where they spend most of their time. Summits happen, workshops happen. You don't find them at these platforms. Some of the summits are free to enter. Come through, do this, they don't pitch up. Last year, earGROUND Festival, the weekend of earGROUND Festival, they had like, was it a 3-day or 2-day workshop? I was there for all the days, personally. Did not see one hip-hop artist.
That, I think, is not only a hip-hop.
It's not I'm just concentrating on the hip-hop side, unfortunately.
Okay.
Whether the older guys or the younger guys. Okay, maybe the younger guys didn't hear them, they didn't see the messages or whatnot. But some of the other older guys saw the messages. And they would ask you, Plot, how was the summit? Where were you? Why didn't you come? So there is that thing whereby, I don't know, as hip hop people, we kind of have I know it all. I don't need this, I don't need that. And then I don't know if it's pride or being pompous or whatever. But the thing is, at times we don't want to take information. You know what I mean? And then you move in a certain way whereby you kind of rub people the wrong way.
I think it's ignorance.
It's ignorance.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a generation of young people that we're actually growing a generation of young, ignorant people. And it's scary to think of. Extremely scary, because they don't have an appetite to know. They don't have an appetite to connect and learn, right? I've learned everything that I've learned and that I know now from engaging with people that are in spaces who have done it better, who do it well. For example, before starting earGROUND, I went to Cliff Central. I booked up with Kamopiri, with the guys that were doing it there, and saw how they were doing things. So for these young people, this is why you find you blow up, you have a hit song. Right? Kure was a big song. It was a crossover song. Follow up, you find these two artists that are on this. You barely saw them perform together. You don't see artists having an appetite to attend workshops, conferences, summits, and not even that. I'll give you an example. How often have you seen an artist from Zimbabwe who goes to South Africa?
None.
Even go to a small unknown podcast in Alexandra Park?
None.
Right. Or even say, I'm reaching out to KO and I'm going to see some of these guys are open, right?
Just to have a conversation.
But here's the thing. Some of these guys, even if you put them in the same room with some of them, they can't speak. They can't have a conversation, right? I don't know whether it's confidence or not. So they are happy being number one in a space where in a small space. They don't want to cross the board. This is why you find possibly one of the biggest hip hop artists right now. His energy right now is not on music. His energy is on ranting and other things, you know. And you ask yourself, like, what are we trying to lead the industry to? Like, why we're still not there yet.
We are concentrating on the minor.
On the minor.
The majors are the music.
No.
Is the music.
So can you put artist A, B, C from Zim in the same space as Casper Nyovest, what's his name? KO, Nasty C, and Slicker, and be in the same space? And then it also extends, it's an industry disease, like I'm telling you, right? I'm actually happy that with this platform, we're having like a very civil and developmental like sort of conversation. Because if you watch most of the podcasts from Zimbabwe, our stories are based on very small micro subjects that not even anyone from Zambia can relate to. But today, one of the biggest podcasts on Africa is coming from South Africa. And their conversation, even if it's a home conversation, it can still be relatable. If they bring black coffee, we can all watch black coffee and learn something. So we need to start questioning ourselves that where are we on the continental space? Where are we on the global space? What are we hungry for? What do we want to curate? But if the artists, the local ones, are not going to shape up and work and improve and be hungry for some of these things, the danger is that they are going to become irrelevant and suffer from foreign products that are going to come and occupy this space. Because we're exposed. Their audience is not only limited to them and limited to their own small petty issues. The young people that they should be influencing music-wise in every way, they're exposed. They have the internet. They see what's trending out there. So they will respect an artist from South Africa. They'll be prepared to pay more money to an artist who's coming from South Africa. They'll prepare to even buy their product than to do the local. And what will happen? The local artists will be complaining, we're not getting supported. People don't love local. People don't support. People love local if the local is good. Yeah.
So, because now the other thing is, we're festivals that happen in Zim, shows that happen in Zimbabwe. We'll go to the one that you partnered with the Hip Hop Summit.
Yes, Shoko Festival.
They did well to push hip hop and to push like younger artists and to bring in artists to come and perform. But of the ones that I went, let me just ask you this: which hip hop performance at Shoko Festival do you remember the most?
The hip hop, I remember Tumi, 2011. I remember AKA, may his soul rest in peace, in 2018. I remember, I didn't attend this one, but I watched it online. What was that? It was, no, I actually attended. I remember the Few Kings, yeah, they performed. I remember Mischief. I remember Casper Nyovest, right? Yeah, I remember those acts.
Of all those acts, you mentioned 1.5 from Zimbabwe. Because Mischief, many don't even know he was Zimbabwe. So I should say half.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mischief and Few Kings.
Yeah.
But for you to get onto that stage, how much work do you do before Shoko arrives?
Man.
As an artist for that, so that Shoko can look at you the whole year and be like, you know what, you can come to our stage and perform and not lip sync.
Right now,
some of our local guys are lip sync.
They are not even performers.
There's no way you're going to be jumping this high, and it does not translate through the mic with, okay, he's using so much energy. If you're jumping and running, I can hear you when you're performing. Your voice is not level, but you're jumping high, and your voice is as good as come on.
So far, I can single out artists that I've seen getting on stage and give a performance. T-Gons does give a performance. Tanto Wavie is amazing.
He's nice. I saw him at there's this event that happened, I think 2 weeks ago in town.
Yeah.
He closed that show. Denim was there.
Denim was Sun.
There.
Yes.
Yamikani was there.
I was there too.
Was there.
Yeah.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there.
I think we missed each other in the crowd.
Yeah.
Ushe was there. This squad of young guys that are talented.
Denimu's son, Tanto Wavie, T-Gons, and I like Kiki Bades, like she gives the energy on stage. I just wish she could give us more songs. Yeah, we need more stuff from here, possibly more and more. The ones that are called the top artists at the moment, I'm sorry to say, they are work performers. Get on stage, they sing on top of a CD with a complete song. And their excuses like, oh, Jay-Z does it, or Rick Ross does it. But here's an example. Rick Ross can afford to be on stage and just stand and people will scream and he can leave without uttering any word, or just say, "Is the boss," and then he leaves. Why? Because he has built a brand. He's an entertainer. It's now beyond him performing, him doing anything. And we have not reached that stage yet. We can't afford to relax. We can't afford to sing on top of a song. These artists, I don't know what's with them, but I tell you, if they're not careful, in a year, some of them will be easily forgotten. Or less. Because none of them is investing towards their live act to say, look, I go to South Africa, let me buy a MIDI, keyboard, let me buy a drum pad, let me buy a loop station and try to create an experience for people to enjoy this song, right?
Tanto Wavie is on that tip.
Tanto Wavie is on that tip. He brings in a band, right? He does this. You can actually, he puts on costumes, what nice afro, what, right? You can see.
And his set is rehearsed, you can tell.
It's
He's
proper.
not trying to say, DJ, what do you have?
In terms of people right now, Tanto Wavie is the current best performer. I wish he would get more, people would get to appreciate his music more, because even his lyricism, authenticity in his sound, in his style, is actually on point. But the other guys, I don't know what they need to do. They're brilliant artists in the studio, but when they put up stage performance, so Shoko Festival, we then struggle to pick. I've been one of the people that put up the program for performance for Shoko Festival for, I think, 8 years now, right? I'm involved in the selection of artists, and one of the biggest struggles has been, yes, they are good, they've got a good song, but on stage, how are they?
So outside of the big ones, there are no shows basically. So whereby you can say this Friday, so and so is performing at Rainbow Town. There are no shows. When we talk about shows, we're not talking about where there are 5,000 people. You can have a show in Borodo that is 100 people. And then when you build that type of catalog, when you're now curating your Shoko set, your Shoko list of artists to perform, you can be like, I know him, I saw him perform there, then you can pull up.
Yes, true.
So there are no shows basically in Zimbabwe.
I don't know why they're not doing shows, because tell you what, everybody wants to do shows in town, everybody wants to do shows uptown. But if I stayed in Mafuwe and I would put up a show at Hunter's Bar, even with my 10 people in my community, grow that support from, right? Those are the people that will take you to the next. Casper Nyove started doing shows in his neighborhood before he grew big, right? If you're living in Pumula, in Zilekazi, in Dombotombo, do a show in that community.
Constantly.
Do it constantly until the local people are starting to root for you, until you've outgrown the local market and you'll be able to scale up to the next level. But everybody wants the big show, wants the big stage, once they get it. So they complain, they feel entitled. I saw when Rick Ross came, everybody felt entitled like this, and the promoter listened. But I tell you, the promoter possibly by now, they could be regretting their decision to put in mainly hip-hop artists, because they don't bring an audience. One, they don't bring a good show. They don't realize what it means to just be on such a great platform, right? But when you get a Zim dancehall artist, right, not all of them, but some of them, they are hungry. That's the day you put him on stage, gives you magic. I'm giving Zim dancehall not as a comparison, but just say, look at the alternatives. We have it here. I could have given an example of South Africa, but no, I'm saying here. This is why Tos can come here in Zimbabwe and perform with a DJ set. He does 30 minutes at one festival. He rocks, he performs, he gets his money, he gets VIP treatment, he gets everything, because they've elevated the value to that level. So artists may need to elevate themselves up to a level where promoters don't think twice. They're like, hey, you want what? 5,000? Here it is. What, 1 hour? Okay, cool, do your set. And the audience leaves there thinking we got a show of a lifetime. Yeah.
Why aren't these artists elevating? Okay, listen. T-Gon's been added. Holy 10 has been on a run. Whether be it good or bad, his antics, but he's been on a run. Yeah. And then Tanto Wavie is on there. And the ASF is there as well. How come, what are they not doing to be, one, taken seriously as a brand, two, to be booked at these shows? earGROUND is coming up just now. No, not just now, but just now. This year, Shogo is also coming up just now.
Yeah.
And I can bet my last dollar, these guys might not touch that stage. Why are they not rising to the level? Is it their off-music antics, or just the lack of brand awareness and taking themselves seriously as a profession?
I think it's the latter. They're failing to create their brand and develop themselves in a way that they're taken seriously. And also they're failing to move as a collective, right? So everybody who thinks that they are making it wants to throw shade. Yes, it's hip hop, we know it, but they want to throw shade at the next person. They want to become the hip hop almighty, I know it, or I'm the best, right? And they want to just be talking, right? Brands are not attracted to such, right? Festivals, they don't want drama, they want you act, right? Casper and University can put up a bit of drama, but when it comes into the professional setup, setting, engagement, communication, some of these youngsters, even when you call them on their phone, you struggle to have a conversation. I tried to book artists last year for Amplify Festival, and I remember conversations that I had a lot with the hip hop artists. They were very unpleasant. And I remember one hip hop artist that we booked and we paid the most to perform. He came through, he performed 3 songs. On his 3rd song, it was exactly 8-9 minutes. He walked off stage, and that was it. He handed over the microphone and then he left.
9 minutes set.
9 minutes set. And we paid the most than anyone else who was there, right? Do I book this person next time? No, right? What do I say when another promoter reaches out and says, I'm thinking of this artist? I'll say, no, this one is not maybe the best. Think of somebody else. So they need to move as a collective. Zim Dance is a collective approach in terms of rhythms, right? And for hip hop, for them to have this collective vibe, they need to just support each other and just be true to the culture. Because right now what you find are so many divisions. Someone is doing shipping rap, which is good. Someone is doing something, or someone is doing this and that. But to say, look, we are all doing hip hop. Let's come together. Let's support this. Even when these hip hop awards happen, how do they support an initiative that is run for the past 12, 13 years, consistently, somebody putting in the effort? Yes, not perfect, but ultimately it's what we have. How do we develop it? Do we just trash it and say, oh, it's trash, you are beefy? He has done his part. He has done what some of the artists could not have done, right? They're failing to do that. But for them to engage, to embrace, if they don't get featured on the fix, they start trashing it. If they don't get featured on this, how do you build an industry when you are in the habit of just trashing things, right? Yes, there is a stage where you can be challenging things and so forth, right? We also did that. I also did that. But you don't find me doing the same thing now. I engage. I talk to people. I look at things from how do we develop to the next stage. So I think for artists now, what they need to do is to just think of the future of the industry. How do they develop platforms that are not based on an individual? So that you know this show, if this individual is not making it, it doesn't die. Another one still comes through. But everything is sort of chaotic if this person is not making it, and then there is no hip hop. So if Holy 10 is not making it, and then there's no hip hop. If T-Gonz is not making it, or if T-Gonz makes it, then no one else has to make it. No. Let's be 15 of us, 20 of us, at the same time making it.
I said this some months ago. I was like, listen, why does an artist put out an album, and then for the next 3 months, no one else is putting out an album? Everyone is just clapping and Plot, you're the best, Plot, congrats, my G. But that's where now it comes to the point whereby if just one artist, everyone waits for this one artist to put out something, and then we all sit back and just watch him. We don't have content now that's to give to the listener now.
True.
So now if Only 10 drops an album, everyone else is on stand still, just clapping hands, congratulating him for putting out 18 songs. Okay, we cannot play 18 songs on radio.
It's not possible.
Where is everyone else? Yes, he should put out an album, but where are the other projects? Where are the other singles that can rival him? We're not. If songs rival each other, it's not beef. We're now saying, listen, we've got this whole product, and it's moved. We have 10 songs coming out at the same time. Imagine if we had 10 fire emojis at the same time.
I like the effort with the remixes, but I feel
they were late. Very late.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the remixes personally. One, they were too long.
True.
Secondly, I don't think they benefited the owner of the song.
True. But who owns the song? Or the producers?
From the outside looking in, we would say, without going into the business end of things, we would say it's what's his name?
Leo.
We would say that's his song. So we would say this was supposed to be a trampoline.
It was such a moment where hip hop could have created a lot of crossover appeal. You know, people were ready, people paid attention. But the momentum is being lost because this kid, I don't know whether it gets in their head too quickly.
He's already signed an artist, you know that, right?
Wow. Wow. Because I watched him at Nama. I love the set, I love everything. But you know what? You're having the diplomatic community there, you're having the corporate there and so forth. Put your best shot. Yes, it's hip hop, but to give a performance that will make people say, we love that kid, we want him for our brand, right? It's one thing to take off a shirt, it's one thing, but you know the Zimbabwean society can be very conservative, you know? So some of the things we can do there, but there are moments, there are platforms where we have to exactly and get the best. So like right now you're thinking of where are the follow-up songs, where's this song, where's that song? Because it's, if somebody drops, we all crowd there and say, this is it. Right. And after that, we go to the next one, and this end with our small cliques. Someone is there, someone is there, someone there. But we need to collectively come together and say, how do we go forward? When Wellington goes to South Africa, I've said this in another interview, he has to make an effort to connect to the local spaces.
For me, he was in South Africa a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
The clips that I saw, I was like, okay. But also, on your album, you have two of the hottest South African youngsters there, and you're in their country, and you don't bring them out. So was the collaboration a business transaction or a real collaboration whereby you made the song together? Because if I collaborate with KO, if I go to South Africa, before I even go there, I'm tuning.
Yeah, I'm coming through.
I have a show. Can you free up this time or for this date? Either we just connect and then have a conversation, because the assumption is we now kind of boys. Let's grow that relationship.
But it comes back to that communication aspect. Maybe you relate to this. When you get a WhatsApp message from somebody you have not spoken to, they're a hip hop artist. At most, the messages and the way that they write will not make you even want to entertain them further. They feel entitled, they write to you with a lot of shorthand, broken. They address you in a way as if they're talking to some friend that they already know. And at times they don't even address, they don't even greet. They just send through a link or a track. And then after a while, they're like, hey, you're blue ticking my message. Or then they're posting and trashing. And I'm like, look, how do you talk to people? Like, how do you make it? If you can't talk to me, will you be able to speak to...
Are you going to sit down with DJ Fresh in South Africa and have a conversation?
No, they can't.
You know, and locally, they are not even having the conversations with anyone.
because everybody feels like I don't need the next person, but we need each other collectively. Bloggers, whatever. We have to create a good blueprint. So from our blogs, people have to start trusting our blogs, our media. So the biggest tragedy right now is that nobody trusts information online. As much as it's there, it's always taken with a pinch of salt. It's always taken as, oh, these are personal opinions and so forth. We need to build systems that allow people to say, look, if Plot says this song is good, he means it. It's not just some PR. If Denzel Sample says this is a great track, it means, and it should not just be great. Let's describe, let's get deeper, let's explain the aesthetics, the dynamics within this music. Let's not be on the surface like everybody, this is dope, whatever. Everybody can do that. How do we distinguish ourselves and how do we curate so that, because if you go on Silicon Life, you can read the review and it makes you click the song and like it. So it's not only the artists that have to up their standards, it's us, the media, it's even the fans. The fans, I might not say much, but I feel we need to create new appetite for people who like quality and good content. As long as we are liking people because of just their names, yes, the big names, it's not going to work because we're ignoring some very good content. There's a lot of, I bumped into, there's a guy from Lawa called Fish F. Ndaram, right? And I asked myself,
the boy is nice.
This guy's, and there's a new kid called K-Flow.
Oh.
And
K-Flow is amazing.
You are like, these guys, this
boy
is
from It's nice.
He's amazing.
Nice.
Jose Mwanawa Prince, Jose Leon Mwanawa. Now I was saying to him, guys, think about your names. I spoke to Fish Ndaram. Because these names are not attractive. No. I will not remember you.
Ndaram actually changed his name.
Oh, really?
He was, I met him when I went to Blayo years ago, 2013, 14.
Oh, wow.
I went for Made in Blayo.
Yeah.
By Calvin. And then he was going by the name of Fish F. Mafuwe. And I was like, nah.
No, he has to work on his name.
And then he changed it to Fish F. Ndaram. But he's got the narrative. If you see
he explained it to me, but I was like, no, what? This is showbiz. Showbiz.
You don't have to explain.
People don't have to, right? Ira Star, like it. Fireboy, you like it, right? Casper New Vest. These names easily stick. There's rhyme. There's a narrative to it, but it comes out easy like that.
No, Fish F is nice. He's nice. He's got he was supposed to drop an album sometime. He's got a real, for lack of a better term, he's got a real Ndebele cultural sound to it, but he's just modernized.
He's amazing.
If I'm to compare him with anyone, he's gone this Java route.
Yes, that guy, we need to give him attention.
There's another guy in Bly, I just forgot his name. He's also another beast. Bly's got some gems there.
This is one place we need to see more artists popping up. My only challenge is that I don't know how it happened. At every given time, there's only one artist from Blawa that is given the spotlight. Remember, there was Calvin, and then after Calvin, there was SF. From SF, then lately, there's been a bit of focus on, say, Awa, but she's been doing amazing for years, right? We have
Luminous.
tens and tens, Luminous.
That's another.
So, yeah, dope. I love his music. I feel if we open the floodgates, if, for example, a radio station is not only having programs that are only dedicated to a genre, but across, you start to hear more voices. This is how I heard Calvin the first time. Calvin, I saw him at the Zim HipHop Awards in 2014 at Longchen. No, Wingwa, right? He was performing then. I was like, what was the point? The next thing I heard Calvin on radio, ZiFM, right? The next thing I hear Calvin is on a remix with Casper New Vest, right? You can see the progression. So the progression is, it started from somewhere, somebody saw him there, it goes to next thing. So we need to create this value chain where me as somebody who's online, you in mainstream, we create that kind of chain, right? The promoter, who's there? The promoter, Zimboy picks up from you, right? Somehow. And then who is into distribution, or who is into marketing, who is into whatever, right? But ultimately, everybody has to make money. But now the challenge is, the artists are now becoming artist managers, they're now owning labels, they're now publishers, they're now whatever, right? Fair and fine, it's good, but the challenge is that when you cannot do everything. So you're an artist, but you're also trying to raise other artists, which can work, but if you have systems, then things can actually work, because there are more players in the industry and everybody has to eat. Everybody has to make money. If people in marketing and distribution are making money, artists are also making money. They produce. I've seen producers struggling a lot. Producing good music, hit songs, they don't make even a single cent. They get $50 from recording a track. So you can imagine a song goes on to make $50,000 in a year, where you've only made $50.
They're not doing splits. You know, because it comes to that knowledge of knowing I have to, there's those things called splits, there are royalties, there this and that, and then also you are not registered. So if you're not registered, those splits won't work.
True. They're not doing splits, they're not doing kits. I was talking to one DJ who says, look, I'm playing in clubs different. It was Kingy. He says, I'm doing a lot of gigs.
Yeah. She doesn't get music.
I don't get music from the artist, or I just get one complete song, right? But what if the artist would bring me their a cappella version, their hook, the instrumental, whatever? I could do more magic with this live on stage.
I speak to many DJs, yeah, like club DJs. And I'm like, yo, because I'm always out. I go to so you find me everywhere and anywhere. And I'm like, you'll be in the club one time and then they're playing hip hop music and then you can hear an old song. You hear MMT in the club today. And you're like, but wait, there is Mfano Epajeja. And then you then have a conversation because now we know each other. And you're like, yo, but how come you don't? And it's like, I don't have the music. Where do I find it?
No, there's an entitlement from artists that, you know, as long as they've dropped, you know, you should follow them up. They will not even reach out. You know what? Harare artists are privileged.
Too privileged.
Too privileged.
Too privileged.
Because in Harare, you can easily, in a single day, you can be on 4 radio stations.
But see, they don't, that's also true and that's also not true. As much as they're in Harare, if you want to have them, it's also difficult.
This is why I'm saying that they're privileged and they're not hungry, because for somebody who's in Marondera or who's in Dotito, for them to get access alone
To an interview,
it's
a task.
They need to get on a bus, on a combi, on a wish, whatever, and get to Harare. And when they get to Harare, they need to start orienting themselves. Where is this location? Where is Newlands, right? But in Harare, one artist can actually talk to 10 bloggers, all of the radio stations, not even be charged for free. Like, hey, can I come through? What do you have in one day, right? And but a lot of the artists do not follow this. They feel like, oh, the media doesn't matter. I tell you, as much as we've got social media, digital media,
the traditional,
it still works, because there are people that do not have access to anything else alternative except traditional media. They don't have money to stream. So if you don't go on the mainstream media, on the traditional media, you may not be heard.
And is it not that's also what's hindering growth of urban culture and urban music and hip hop, R&B? The fact that they're just online. They are not engaging newspapers in they just say, yo, listen, I have my little show I've posted on Instagram, so people should come. But what about me? Maybe I can be in Chitungu and not be on Instagram.
Then,
but I like your music.
The platforms where I've never been.
But I only hear you once a week on radio.
They could fully utilize all of these platforms and be everywhere, because imagine artists like Mischief released music in 2000 at a time when there was no internet, but they managed to get it everywhere. So right now, what could happen when an artist has access to internet, has access to radios? 10 years ago, we had only maybe 5-6 stations in Zimbabwe, right? 6. And now, 10 years later, we have 17 radio stations We have 6 TV stations now,
Another
right?
is coming.
Yeah, that's the 6, right? And all of these platforms, there is an audience, even if it's 15, 20,000, 10,000 people there, right? You go there, you drop your stuff, and you don't feel entitled. Be persistent, engage nicely. Hey, you know what? I dropped this. Try to build relations. Relations are very important. People think things that happen because you are good. No, you can be good, but you have to build relations. Relations to the extent that when you're doing something, somebody remembers you even when in a conversation. PDtheGhost is invited to whatever meeting and they're developing an event, say for ZiFM. Offhand, based on relations, you'll be able to remember 1, 2, 3 artists. Not because it's favoring, but because there is a relationship that has been built, right? Say, hey, you know what? Come through, I'm doing this. Oh, I've got this match. You're not buying favors. You're building relations, right? You're even pushing your brand. You're looking at the influence. You say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm dropping something. Come through to my house, listening session. When Mustard Seed dropped, okay, 2 months before that Mustard Seed network dropped, he invited me for a listening session. He says, I've got these many songs, but I want to pick up the good ones. So by the time that the album dropped, 2 months later, I had already had all the songs. I knew what was coming, and you knew it was fine, right? But some songs, they drop, 45 songs. You have those songs, but at the end of the day, you're not getting the traction because you've got beautiful music, but somehow you're not engaging in the right spaces.
Because it's that thing whereby to them they're like, you're supposed to look for me. I'm the artist, you need me. I was told that you need me, I don't need you. I'm like, oh, what?
You see,
This
that's
is
the
nice.
attitude.
Another-
But there are some cool artists, without taking away from them. The artists that I've seen actually have done so well. They engage, they come through. They've really made good relations over the years. They talk to people. They try to even understand where can I be doing. There's a lady called Noluti J.
Oh, she's nice.
Amazing
She's
artist.
nice.
Reaches out, hey, you know what, I'm dropping this. What do you think about this? Okay, what do you think I could possibly do? Where could I go? Who do I talk to?
I met her once at the hip hop, hip hop awards last year. But we've been playing her for a bit, and then so when you then meet someone in person, and then you then be like, oh, that's that person. I mean, it's a refreshing thing. Like, oh wait, really? This is what you do. But that's the issue now, because one artist told me I don't have transport. And then
So they expect you to pay transport to come for an...
I don't know. And then the other artist came in 45 minutes late. Interview's supposed to be an hour. Then it comes through 45 minutes late. I was gracious enough to tell them, you know what, we have to book you another day.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
Because now I then start worrying that, if you cannot respect something like that, how are you going to do a show?
I had an interview with Tenny from Nigeria, right? 10 minutes before the time we're supposed to record the interview, she was already texting me, hey Plot, I'm ready, are you ready? Right? And this is somebody who's world-traveled, who's exposed, who's having big hits, right? But already the level of excellence, the level of detail and attention to their work tells you that they are serious about their craft. So I think what may change the local industry is somebody who's talented, who's hardworking, who's creative, who's going to do things right. And everybody else is going to follow suit. I'm sad because few kings had it all. They were like, right. MMT, those guys were on point, right? And
Do you think that generation was hungrier than this generation?
yes, they were more hungry. They were not driven by TikTok, they were not driven by social media. They were from their compositions. These guys would meet up in person, they would collaborate, they would work, right? They were hungry to make it, they were hungry to take their sound beyond. If you look at the kind of setup that Ten had and the kind of influence that he had, it tells you of where he was going with the music, right? And unfortunately, the next generation may not have learned much from what these guys did.
Do you think they respect that generation?
This is where the problem is. in Zimbabwe where we disrespect the generation that is before us. It creates a big void because what normally happens globally is that America is built on a legacy of heritage, what do you call it? Knowledge transfer, knowledge sharing, right? So you find the OGs, they're connecting with the next crop of artists, and the young artists are paying homage to say, look, this guy put me on the spot, I've worked with this. They even go for advice. They even call and say, hey, you know what, how do I do things, right? And they respect them. Not because they want money, they want anything. You can actually see that, oh, this one went to Jermaine Dupri, or this was Jay-Z here, this was whatever. There's that mutual respect that happens. Yes, some fall out, but the failure for us to build on the next, we always want to start. We always want to be the first. We always want to be like, I started this kind of movement, I started this kind of style, I started ABC. I'm loving what Dumi Maraire is doing dress, right? He has made music for TV, for Hollywood. He has more than 8-10 placements on Netflix, productions that are already out there and on Hollywood. But this guy, the way he engages, he's not there, he's not here. He could just do away with Zimbabwe, but he's making an effort to actually communicate. He's making an effort to include traditional Zimbabwean instruments and talk about Zimbabwe proudly. So we need to actually do that, to say, how do we connect? Can we study? Can we have books about mischief? Can we have a book about metaphysics? Can we have a book about Piece of Ebony? Can we understand the journey that these guys have traveled? Metaphysics is part of Suleiman, which is one of the biggest bands in Europe, right? Filling up stadiums. He's part. He comes back here, he tries to engage, he tries to do workshops. Times I saw that they turn up very low. Some are superstarish towards him and stuff.
Like I was saying, then we have there's round tables that are created. Come through, let's talk about it. Let's do ABC. No one pitches up.
Yeah.
And then you want to sit down and say, these people hate. At times when people say they're gatekeepers, what I believe in is you want everyone to come through. But as everyone is coming through, you're also doing quality control.
Yes. Gatekeepers are necessary.
Not everyone is supposed to get in here.
True.
I'm going to stop you and say, Plot, go back. Plot, you have to go. It's not personal. Go back, go refine yourself, work on stuff, not alone, but with other people. Just do things to better yourself. Then when you come back, I'm like, okay, no, this is nice coming. Because it's pointless opening the door and then everyone jumps in. And then when you're in there, you're like, but this is not good. That's not good. That's not good. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
But now we're at a point whereby you hear the younger guys. I was speaking to someone, and then I was like, "Do you know Munetsi?" And this was like, "Nope, never heard of him." And I was like, "Wait, okay." So when you are entering this field, you don't study what was before you.
It's tragic.
And then I was like, "Okay, is it Munetsi's fault, or what is it?" Personally, I was like, okay, what is it? Is it ignorance?
It's ignorance to the highest degree, because like before coming here, I had a meeting with Rizla Sibanda, the CEO of Zimbabwe Music Awards. And this guy who did so much for so many big artists, like in South Africa, he worked with Evoke, he worked with a lot of big names. He did a lot of promotions, heavily involved. Even he's been assisting the Zim Hip Hop Awards and stuff.
Yeah, like this year, right?
Yes,
yeah,
and even last year.
Nice.
So, because for me it was important to meet him because I need to tap into that wisdom. I need to meet up people that have done it. I need to sit Ish Matters and sit him down and talk to him. If we can't tap wisdom from those, even if they were old school, if they were doing things conventionally, you'd find that there are a lot of great deal of lessons. This industry works almost in the same way. It may just be a niche of technology, but we need to go back and talk to those that were there before us and say, hey,
because they did it at a level that you are not yet doing.
Exactly.
It's like if you are managing any artist, you are managing an Aisha, for example. If you're going to sit and then look at the landscape and be like, I want Aishan to be as huge as my manual. Why don't you engage my manual as manager? And then to get tips. Okay, how did you break my manual? Yes, Aishan is now out there, but does the person in Binga know Aishan? What do we do to do that? And then it goes back to the point you say, are our artists just happy to just be big in Ara?
Some of them, like, they may be big here, but you just cross the target. Any of the directions, you'd find they're not known. Their sound is not known, their names are not known. And their content, they're busy trolling each other online, right? They're busy saying, I'm the biggest. And I'm like, look, why don't we dream and make an effort? For example, collaborating with artists, say, in Zambia, right? In Zambia, in Malawi. In Malawi, there's an artist called Physics, doing super awesome. He loves Zimbabwe. He's done 1 or 2 collaborations. In Zambia, there's Natasha Chansa there. She's super amazing, super talented, right? Collaborating with such artists, right? Going to Namibia, collaborate. And even if you collaborate with an artist who's not known in some of these places, what it does to you is that it gives you an additional audience that you don't have. And when you get that additional audience, you will be able to perform on a regional level. Everybody wants to go international. Ask them, what's international? Is it Europe? Is it UK? Is it Australia? Is it the States? Right? What is international for them? How do they define international? If they are not known in Djibouti, here in Africa, why do they think they can actually be known, in Asia? Why don't they make such efforts to actually get airplay? Some of the stations out there will be happy to even host them. If they go to Mtare, there's a station in Mtare, right? There. So every artist who's touring, who's performing, they should make an effort that wherever they go, who's the local blogger here, who's the local, even if they've got 15,000 followers, but they're 15,000 from Chegutu that you don't have, talk to them, right? Until such a point that you have reached another level and document. We saw with Kanye West, you had this documentary on Netflix last year.
That's footage from way back.
And the guys that produced that documentary say, no, we are his friends, we're just taking along. We started developing this like 25 years ago. And now Netflix bought the same project for 19 million, right? So we need to be documenting, we need to be telling our story, not just to be posing for selfies, but to say, even as you're creating, who's documenting, who's creating a story. Look at multiple revenue streams. Make music for films. Drez makes music for films. There's so many opportunities. Now there are more TV stations. What is it that you can create for TV, right? Instead of us complaining and say, oh, things are bad. Yes, things are not well, but there are opportunities, right? So somebody who complained and bash me for hosting the Zim Hip Hop Summit. But here's something that I did out of passion where I could have said, I'm seated in Europe. I can just mind my own business and live my life, right? And not even about that. But I said, look, I'm going to create this platform, collaborate with. So collaboration, we collaborate with Mhako. We never had a fight. We just said, okay, look, we need to find funding for us to continue with this thing. That was it. So if we get the money, we're going to continue with it. Because the first 2 years we did it our own, right? Brought in Slicker, who believed in the hip hop scene and came to Zimbabwe without asking for a fee. We only paid his accommodation, his travel. He came through with this. But out of that, he made a small documentary. He had something for Stick on Life, right? He already made some connections. But for us to say, I'm a blogger, I'm writing on Zimbabwean hip hop, I'm going to go to Zambia and just learn and see how people are doing things, we're possibly not doing that.
Yeah, listen, too many things are not being done that we might need to polish up on, like what you're saying. Because I personally don't know many bloggers. I know they're there. I just don't see them. I've never met them in person. You know what I mean? A few of those I've met online every now and again, and then we then bump into each other here and then, and like I'm like, yeah, I've seen your work around, you know. But it's that thing. So I just have this thing about our hip hop artists that, you know, they're so comfortable, and they're putting antics before the music. Holy Ten's album is out. It's out. And then you have time to take shots at Takura. and whoever else was
Somebody
taking
has to
shots.
advise Wally.
So I'm like, yo, listen, man, let the music speak. Let the music speak. Takura is in his lab creating. And when it's go time, you will know it's go time, because when it then comes out.
I think there's somebody who's whispering into Wally's ears and telling him that throw everyone who's doing well. And when you do that, controversy sells. But you know, one thing about controversy, it has got a very short lifespan, you know, and no matter how talented you are, they can reach a point where people then start to detest you because of your actions that are non-musical. So I think my general advice to him is to say, look, you know what, all artists, controversy is a limited, you know, lifespan. Focus on your craft. Respect the industry. Respect people that are there. Don't have the appetite to troll and step on everybody's toes, right? Find ways to build relations. The industry is too small for us to actually be fighting against each other. We have not even grown, we have not even reached a certain level. So how do we get to a point where we think this one is bad, I have to throw this one, I have to do this and that? Let's grow. Let's develop.
We need shows. That's one thing that I'm saying. This year, we need to wake up and say, I'm going to 7 Arts because there is a show.
True.
And one thing that I laugh at is that you reach out to someone and say, yo, let's do an interview next week. This is I'm busy next week. I'm on the road. I'm like, wait, what? Where are you going? Where are you performing? I haven't seen any advert saying you're performing in Chegut or wherever that, you know. So, is it that respect level or the lack of, is it lack of ambition? Or lack of saying, listen, for me to get to where XQ is, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. XQ is moving in a certain way. And when he then gets on stage, you can tell there is so much work put into this.
So much. In a few days, he's going to Australia. After that, he's going to Germany. And then after that, he's going to UK. Here he's bold, he's getting gigs, because this and that, brand endorsement and so forth, right? This is somebody who's been, you know, on the same course for 20 plus years, 21, 22 years, right? Evolving, new sounds coming in, new artists coming in, he still remains relevant, he still conducts. It's because of how he has built his brand. And these are some of the things that artists could actually learn from. But it's deliberate ignorance, because if you ignore such success and you are not drawn towards it to say, like, how do I develop in this kind of direction? What are the local examples that we have? Okay, Winkedy, Nati Oja, Praiser, you know, Janet Manua, Felinat. How do we develop ourselves up to this kind of? Ever wondered why we don't have so many female MCs now in this place? But all the talent that we had is gone. There's so many factors, right? But I feel, for example, Natasha Moons could be unstoppable right now. She could be somewhere, right? But you need a real team, a good team around you that helps you develop your brand. And when you have that team, also make them eat as well. It should not be just about you as an artist. Get somebody, a graphic designer, a a makeup, a photographer, videographer. Work with these people, learn some skills, improve yourself. And, you know, the thing with hip-hop is that it evolves, new styles, new elements, subgenres keep coming through. And the next generation, right now, young people that are in Form 1, in 2 years, they'll be the young people that will be popping.
How do we make our sound tasteful enough for foreigners to like it? In the sense that if this happens a lot, I think. People fly out and go perform in any country, but the 98% of people there are Zimbabweans who are staying there. How do we translate? What needs to be done to translate that to say, listen, I'm going to South Africa, I'm performing in, I don't go perform in Alex, but I'm still performing in South Africa, and then there are South Africans coming to see me. If Nasty C comes, the last time he came, not for the Rick Ross one, the one that was in that place, forgot his name.
Yeah.
I was amazed because that album had literally dropped like 3-4 days before. on that show, all these little high school kids were
They were singing along.
I'm like, how is this possible?
So
he has that cult following even here.
because of content, because of the quality of content, the packaging, the presentation, Nasty C is a rock star. Show me a rock star here. Right? And showbiz works like that. People love Diamond Platinum because he's a rock star. Right? His dressing, his style, his whatever, everything, the way, whatever, they make it real, right? That you want to emulate. And these kids follow that. Right now, Harmonize has got a song that is trending on TikTok, right? I'm single again. It's the packaging, the presentation. So the sound somehow has to be very relatable. If you check with a lot of our songs, you can't even put them on the same BPM with the other songs that are trending regionally, right? So how do DJs then include that in their set? The delivery, the lyrical content, the hooks, the what, like a hit song. Like there has to be some magic in every song that make people like, this song, I like it. I see some good rappers here, but you find possibly they're better singers, right? Instead of them getting somebody to, hey, do a chorus for me, do this and that, and they want to do everything, right? May he so rest in peace, Costa Teach. We saw what he did. And hip hop, getting into our piano, still bring his rap style and stuff, right? So our sound needs to tap into our traditional elements. This is what the world is not explored. And this is what Tanto Wavie is doing, this is what Dress is doing, this is what SF has done at some point, this is what PDtheGhost Hip Hop is doing. We need to tap and believe collectively into that. And still, and put just a bit. It will give people a GPS that this must be Zimbabwe. And once we do that, but still sounding very global, it's not necessarily about the language. I listen to a lot of hip hop from Ghana. And we need to start believing and researching and seeing more, because we think the world is South Africa, UK, America, and right. We don't realize that there are 54 countries, if not 55 in Africa, right? And of these countries, there is a rap industry, there is an artist there. Try to know them. Try to know them online, and it's now much easier. You can link up with an artist from South Sudan and create a magic track that could possibly be big in that place. You can link up with an artist in Central African Republic. Nothing stops, because the internet is there. They won't need to be asking for money. They'll be happy. What artist from Zimbabwe with what 20,000 followers? They want to work with me. Cool, let me do a track with them. Right?
And the sound is right.
And the sound. Get on the next bus, travel to Tanzania, and be there and attend events. See how things are being done. This is what artists need to think of.
So basically, they need to open their minds.
They need to learn. And go to South Africa. What are the biggest festivals that are happening there? Right. Attend some of these things and watch.
I commend my colleague. Yeah,
I love her. She's amazing.
Every event.
Now I see her on panels with very important people on. And imagine if she was an artist with that kind of hunger and drive.
And the fun thing is, she's representing Zim and speaks of most of these artists that in turn take shots at her.
That's why I'm saying that these young people, I think possibly what they need is a wake-up call. These shows that are happening where we have big South African artists or one-hit South African artists coming in, filling up, are not a wake-up call enough for them. But if things remain like this, in a year, they will start be saying, oh, we need 100% local content, we need this and that, right?
We have 100%, but you're not
they're not making the best to fill up such, they're not taking their music. So I think we need each other in this. It can't be also us blaming and say this and that, this and that, right?
We're trying to pull everyone up, like, yo, listen.
Let's collectively, if you see me, if you see PD, hey, you know what, bro? What do you think is the best submission way? What could get my music noticed? What could I do? There's somebody I watched something on TikTok, and someone was explaining how the algorithms work when you drop in new music. And they said the first 5 seconds can influence algorithms. So if you get on the first 5 seconds and you're like, yo, and then you go on, this technology will miss out on you. Right? It rebounds to pick on something else. So how do we then say, we've got an artist like Tanto Wavie, we support him to a level where the world cannot resist him. This is what the Nigerians have been saying. Look, Zimbabweans, start loving yourself so much to the extent that everybody else there would say, why are these people so proud of themselves, to the extent that they start to get interested in your own culture? The talent we have. Look at every production house that we have seen globally. Mr. Camera, look what he's doing for Netflix, whatever. The people are the juicer. I was just watching Morgan Heritage talking. They're like, oh yeah, we produced half of our album. It's a producer from Zimbabwe called Juicer. This is how Zimbabweans could have. Look at record labels, production houses, media houses, you name it. At TikTok, there is a Zimbabwean, right? Head of content creation there. At YouTube, there is Sasa Basa, Tino Basa, no, what's...
Sony, there's a Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Universal, there's a Zimbabwe.
Everywhere.
Warner Music in South Africa, there's a Zimbabwe.
Marvel, there is a Zimbabwe.
So that's what I'm saying, that whereby you and me know these things because we have dug deep into this and trying to see, okay, how can we place things there? Yeah, and we have built relations and work together with these people. And we then bump into a Zimbabwe, they're like, oh, you name it, there.
Yeah.
But now, it's like the people in the background are hungrier than the people who are supposed to be superstars.
Yes.
Who do you think is a superstar in this urban industry?
Right now. Japrez is a superstar. Winky D is a superstar. Or you want hip hop?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Japrez Winky D is a superstar. Janet Manua is a superstar. Who else? Hollyton is a superstar. Right. He just needs to fix it. He's a superstar. He's amazing. People love him. If he was not good an artist by now, he would have been cancelled. But you can't cancel good talent. Right. But he can't continue on that path. It's tragic. Right. He's a superstar. And who else is a superstar? I think you know how difficult it is now if we can't pick superstars, but if you say South Africa, we can easily name them.
That's my point.
Right. It means we don't have enough players occupying this space. There's a void, there's a market, there's an opportunity.
For someone to take their craft seriously.
For someone
to be like, yo, listen, I'm going to change the trajectory. One person that I think is almost there, he just needs to make himself available more. It's Tanto Wavie.
The boy is a superstar. He needs to fix his attitude. I see if he becomes star, I see potential of him changing his attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because I had conversations with him when he started, and now we had him last year at Amplify. You can actually pick that. Okay, he's starting to get his. He should just continue working and not grow big-headed until he gets there. Yes, artists need to have that good
but you need that swagger, that ego, but it needs to be toned. It needs to be at a certain level where people can still receive you.
Natio is a superstar. Yeah.
Oh, that album.
Up to now.
Oof. I hope it drops another one next year.
He says he's working on something.
Already?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's for this year or not, but he says he's cooking something.
Okay. Excuse also cooking sign.
Great.
He says he's almost there.
Awesome.
Almost there. But also with hip hop, I don't know who's working on anything because they never give information out. You know what I mean? Their teams, if they have them, they really don't give much out. But yeah. Oh. I know what's his name is putting out an album. Our Pills.
Oh, Our Pills.
Yeah.
Okay. Talented, super talented, but I feel like the 45, I listened to the album. I was like, look, you know, let me give him a chance because he can't be crazy that he's dropping 45. So I did. Listen to it. A beautiful project, beautiful album. But he needs to break it down, 5 tracks, whatever. He needs to find a release formula. Album may not work. And he's one guy that I've also grown to understand. I don't think he's a bad boy. He speaks a lot of sense. He says a lot of very interesting things.
Is it a case of like a Damon Dash where your delivery is the one that's not the right way?
I think he just needs to fix how people perceive him.
It's like how he then this album is like I mean those 45 songs are the interviews. I'm not talking to anyone in the media.
You see, that's what I'm saying.
And then he actually had the song about that, and I was like, okay.
So how do you then engage? Like, people are just like, okay, cool. We'll sit back. We're not obliged to play your music. You know, so he needs to fix some of those things. Yes, some stunts, like I told you, some of these stunts are short-lived. They start affecting your brand. We saw it with a lot of Zim dancehall artists that were super talented. But possibly by now they should have been rock stars. But because they took wrong steps somewhere, right? I wish I could drop, you know, Zim dancehall guys will come after me, but, you know, we have had so much potential. No, they would definitely come after me. But I love Zim dancehall. But I feel the artists that by now should be at the same level as Stonebwoy. Yeah.
And I truly believe we have artists that are supposed to be competing with KO and them. I love K Breezy from Blind.
Dope.
I love him to pieces. The kid is nice. I think this project that they're about to put out might just sway a lot of people.
Dope. Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it's an honor. Always great to be.
I need to come through for those earGROUND.
Let's do that.
Interviews.
We were setting up a new joint. In a week we'll be done. And then we'll invite you. It will be actually great to have you.
It will be an honor to come through. Hey,
thanks, man.
We need to do
Thanks,
this
man.
again sometime.
Awesome.
When some of these artists are now in the stars with the other stars. Thanks for coming through.
Thanks
so you're around to it?
Till sometime in April.
April.
Yeah, likely end of April.
You have a month to go.
Yeah, I have a month to go. But time flies because there's so much to be done. Yeah.
Sure.